Have you ever found yourself thinking, I'm just not a creative person? Well, what if I told you that that's just not true? In the next few minutes, we are going to completely reframe that idea. We're going to take creativity from this vague, mysterious concept and turn it into a practical, trainable skill that you can literally start using today. All right, let's jump right in.
Okay, let's start with a really simple question for you. What is 5 times 5? Right, it's 25. Your brain probably spat that out instantly, right? You found the one single correct answer. Easy. Just hang on to that thought for a second.
You see, that 5 times 5 problem is a perfect example of something called convergent thinking. This is what our whole education system is built on, right? Finding the one correct answer on the test. But real creativity, that lives over in the other column, divergent thinking. It's not about finding the answer, it's about finding many possible answers. This is the skill that lets you tackle those messy, real-world problems that don't have a simple solution in a textbook.
So let's really dig into that difference. We usually think of intelligence as being good at recognizing patterns, in math problems, in data, everywhere. But what's fascinating is that true creativity is almost the opposite. It's about knowing when and, more importantly, how to break those patterns. So what do we even mean when we say an idea is creative? Well, the formal definition is pretty simple. It has to be both novel, meaning new, and useful. Think about it this way. A phone that's powered by your body heat, that's definitely novel, but probably not very useful. On the other hand, using your phone as a paperweight is useful for sure, but it's not exactly a new idea. The magic, the real innovation, happens right in the middle, when you manage to get both. So how do we get there? How do we get better at finding those novel and useful ideas? Well, here's the most important thing you need to hear. Creativity is not some magical gift you're either born with or you're not. Nope. It's a muscle. And just like any other muscle, you can absolutely train it. And this is your workout plan. These are the 6 core habits that researchers have found in highly creative people. Think of it like your new gym routine for building up that divergent thinking muscle. We're going to touch on just a few of my favorites. Okay, check this out. We're so often told to focus, to drop our hobbies for more serious work. Turns out, that is terrible advice. This data shows that Nobel laureates are actually 20% more likely to have an artistic hobby than their peers. Albert Einstein famously played the violin whenever he got stuck on a physics problem. So your hobbies, they're not a distraction from your work, they're a creativity supercharger. This quote just nails the next idea, having multiple affiliations. Look, your job title, that's just what you do. It's not who you are. By cultivating all the different parts of your identity, the musician, the runner, the parent, the volunteer, you build resilience and, crucially, you get a much wider pool of experiences to draw from when you're trying to solve a tough problem. You ever noticed how that aha moment of a creative insight feels a little bit like getting a joke? Well, there's a reason for that. Neurologically, they are incredibly similar. A joke works by setting up a pattern and then, bam, breaking it with a punchline. A creative idea does the exact same thing. So, embracing a little randomness and having a sense of humor literally primes your brain to be more creative. And the last habit, meditation, is really all about clearing out the mental clutter so your brain has room to play. It really just comes down to these 3 simple ideas. Accept the things you can't change, don't tie your ego to the outcome of your ideas, and just try to observe things without immediately slapping a good or bad label on them. It frees up a shocking amount of mental bandwidth for actual creative thinking. All right, so we've got our mindset trained and ready to go. Now it's time to shift from thinking to doing. Let's talk about the practical, on-the-ground rules for actually generating great ideas. These are the 4 essential rules. But if you remember only one thing from this whole explainer, please make it the first one. Go for quantity over quality. The goal is not 3 perfect ideas. The goal is 100 messy, weird, and average ideas, because that's where you find the real gems. And deferring judgment is just as important. At this stage, there is no such thing as a bad idea. Now, we've all been in those brainstorming meetings, right? Where the loudest person in the room dominates, or you have a brilliant idea, but you forget it by the time it's your turn to speak. That's why I want to introduce you to brain writing. It fixes all of that. Everyone just writes their ideas down silently and anonymously. Suddenly, all voices are equal. And that fear of sharing a crazy idea, it just disappears. It is such a simple switch, but the impact is massive. Okay, this is the fun part. Welcome to your new ideation toolkit. This final section is packed with powerful, practical techniques you can start using the minute this is over.
to generate those 100 ideas. Tool number 1 is to challenge every single assumption you have about a problem. Ask yourself, what are the things we just take for granted? And then ask, what if the exact opposite were true? This is precisely how game-changing products like the iPhone and the Dyson fan were born. They took the most fundamental assumptions of their industries and just threw them out the window. Our next tool is a fantastic creative checklist called Scamper. It's a simple acronym that forces you to look at a problem from 7 totally different angles. So say your problem is campus parking. You could S, substitute cars with shuttles, or C, combine journeys by carpooling, or how about A, adapting a sports field for parking? You see how each letter just triggers a completely new kind of solution? It's an amazing way to get unstuck when you feel like you've hit a wall. This next technique, analogous design, is so powerful. It's basically about looking for inspiration in completely unrelated fields. So if you want to improve a campus canteen, don't just go look at other canteens. That's boring. Instead, go study how an airline serves hundreds of meals in a tiny, cramped space, or how a Formula One pit crew services a car in under 3 seconds. The farther away you look for your analogy, the more novel your idea is likely to be. Here's a brilliant little trick. Instead of designing for the average user, try solving the problem for the most extreme user. Why? Because that solution often ends up benefiting everybody. Subtitles are a perfect example. They were originally created for people who are hearing impaired, but now we all use them to watch videos on our phones in public. By designing for the margins, you often create something amazing for the mainstream. All right, this last tool, the 9 windows, is a bit of a pro-level move, but it is so powerful for organizing your thoughts. It makes you look at a problem on 2 axes. Horizontally, you look at its past, present, and future. And vertically, you look at it on 3 different scales: the main system itself, its smaller parts or subsystems, and the bigger supersystem it fits into. For a train, that means thinking about not just today's train, but its history, its future, its seats, and how it connects to the entire transport network. It's a way to make sure you've seen the problem from every possible angle. And all of these tools, every single one we've talked about, they all serve one main purpose: to help you get to that magic number. I'm going to say it one more time because it's that important. The goal is not perfection. The goal is volume. Go for 100. So, if you take just one thing away from all of this, let it be this: creativity is not magic. It's not some mysterious gift from the heavens. It is a mindset you can build, and it is a process you can practice. It's a muscle, and now you have the workout plan. Which really just leaves one last question. You have the mindset, you have the tools. So what problem are you going to solve first?